Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode with the Real Talk with Doc. And if you haven't already, please turn on those post notifications. And if you're finding this information of being any value to you, please comment below. We love to hear from you. Kate, good morning to you. How you doing?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, so what's been going on, Doc?
Well, first thing that's going on, this weather, I don't know if it's want to be hot, it want to be cold. Like, you know, I got on thermals under this shirt because it was kind of chilly this morning, but it might end up being 65 degrees. But this weather need to figure out what it's doing. I see your face over there making faces. Kay got this new camera she's been happy to talk about called the DJI. And I'm curious to see what this camera quality is going to be like. It's this little small camera, look like a little robot head. But nevertheless, we always experience with new technology to see how we can just better and more efficiently bring this content to you. So Kay, you know, it's something always going on in our world. We are getting ready to pour the concrete foundation for our condominium building in Cumberland. Yes, 321 Penn Avenue, Pennsylvania, Cumberland. Look that up. 9 condominiums coming to you soon. We're attempting to wrap up our 30-unit mixed-use commercial building on Kennedy Street, right here in the nation's capital. That building. God, thank you for patience. Thank you for my peace. But I'm so ready to be done with that building. Yes, that building is looking to be ready to be delivered to the market the middle of May, so stay tuned for that. And then we're just constantly, you know, working with new clients, getting ready to ramp up for the spring and summer months, which are our busiest months of the year because clients they do a lot of renovation. And the weather's right, they want to be in their outdoor spaces, so we do a lot of outdoor decking, a lot of outdoor patios, a lot of outdoor hardscaping. So yeah, Kay, just really blessed and always excited to be back in the house one more time, talking about how we can help our clients.
All right, cool. So it was the perfect word you used this morning, efficiency, because that's what we're talking about. All right. So energy efficient homes, how to save money in the planet. I mean, that's a big conversation right now with all technology that's coming out. So we kind of want to touch on that today. So with gas, electric prices rising, what are the best energy efficient upgrades homeowners can make to lower their bills?
Here's a quick question for everybody. What are the 2 ways in which your home loses heat and energy the most? Ding, 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 ding. Okay, do you know?
Windows? Seals?
I said 2 ways. That's one.
Yeah, that's all I got.
And you sitting right there by one.
Oh, the door.
Come on, okay, yeah. Window and doors. Like, look, believe it or not, do the flashlight test. It's a simple test we tell people to do. Turn all the lights off in your home at night. Get the kids, because it's a really cool thing to see. And then take a flashlight and just go through the door seams and openings of all your doors and windows. And the trick is, if light can pass through, then heat and air is also passing through. And another measurement to use is that if a lot of light is passing through, then that's a direct correlation to a lot of heat and energy is passing through your windows and doors. A lot of times there are door seals and sweepers at the bottom of the door that are just not there. You have these big gaping gaps between the floor and the bottom of your actual door frame. So do that test, because that's the #1 way that people lose heat and energy in their homes, that cause their electric and gas bill to go up, because you're constantly attempting to equalize the temperature of that particular environment, and it just never reaches a temperature of equilibrium because you're always fighting with the outside, and no one can ever heat or cool the outside according to a thermostatic temperature. And that's why you need to think about that and do your flashlight test with your kids. It's a fun exercise to do at night. So start there, and that's where you can start to have energy efficiency. Look, you can go to Home Depot and get like these weather strips for less than $10, literally. And you can put those weather strips around your door, at the door thresh of your door, and that makes a huge, tremendous difference. And imagine if you're doing that times 4 to 6 doors, 2 doors each floor. Most people have a basement, first floor, and walk-out balconies on their second floor. That makes a big difference. Windows, the quality of windows really do make a difference. That's why some of these windows come double pane now. You're like, why would you need a double pane window? I just need to see out the window. Because you get a pane on the outside, you get a pane on the inside, and then you also get that extra layer of protection of, again, heat and energy going in and out of your door. There are energy efficient glasses that you can put in your window and doors that really minimize the amount of heat that can come into your home and minimize the amount of heat that can leave your home. So start there. You know, doors and windows, I know sometimes I give a lot in these real talks, but if everyone start there, and I would love to hear who did the flashlight door test. We got to give it a little name. What do we want to call it? The late night flashlight door test. I like that. The late night flashlight door test. The late night flashlight door test. The late night flashlight door test. Do it. The late night flashlight door test. Come on, Kate, the late night flashlight door test. What?
The late night flashlight door test.
We got it. Do the late night flashlight door test.
I knew you were going to bust out. All right. So, solar panels, right? Are solar panels a smart investment in today's economy?
Yes, yes, and yes. And the reason being is that, especially in DC, there's something called, God, don't get me to making up the word, but golly, what do they call it? Solar credit, solar something. But in DC, it's really high compared to Virginia and Maryland because the government want to encourage that you use solar energy, you know, planet going greener, not using many natural gases and everything to heat your home. You know, that gas that comes from Smepco gas, Washington gas, all of that gas comes from the earth, believe it or not, you know, so we're depleting the natural resources. It doesn't burn very well, so that's why, you know, we are looking to move away from fossil fuel energy to clean renewable energy. So I say that to say, not only do solar panels help bring your electric costs down because you're taking the energy from the sun, solar energy, and you're converting that to usable electrical energy for your home, but the government will also pay you when you put energy back onto the grid when you overproduce. Now again, let me profess I'm no solar panel energy expert, but I know enough that the investment does make sense. And even if you don't want to pay for your panels up front, the solar energies have these agreement that they get these tax credits at the end of the year on your behalf if they lease the panels back to you. But guess what? You bring your electric bill down. You're doing your part as far as keeping our environment clean. And more importantly, you know, there's a way that you possibly can make money just by having solar energy and doing all of these great things for our environment. So yes and yes. You know, I always tell people trust but verify, and trusting but verify means regardless of what I say, anybody that you listen to as far as their content is concerned, always verify it. And Google and AI, there are amazing verification tools to use in this day's society to make sure that you're making great informed decisions that are prompted by someone that you're choosing to listen to and follow.
Okay, awesome. So I heard from a little birdie that this new estate home you're building is very much energy efficient.
Oh, yeah.
So what are some key things that you have featured in this home or in homes in general that Tebow builds that's energy efficient?
So, Kay, I'm glad you asked that. These clients were really willing to invest in making their home as tight as possible. Again, little heat air exchange between the interior of the home and the exterior home, and also making their home too as green as possible. So let's start with the outside. The first thing that they did was they used the zip sheathing board that had 1-inch insulation on the inside of the board. Normally you get a regular OSB board and you use that as sheathing around the house, and then you come in and you bat insulate it with, you know, normally anywhere insulation in the walls from R19 to R22, right? Code, right? So that's your membrane. So imagine this is the sheathing. You know, when you drive by a house and you see the plywood on the outside of it and they wrap it with Tyvek. And the next layer that you have on the inside is the insulation that are jammed between 2x4s or 2x6s based on what your exterior walls are framed in. That's your envelope right there. In this home, imagine they have the zip sheathing system. And not only the zip sheathing system is pretty cool because you also tape the joints. Unlike, again, with your traditional framing on the sheathing, the OSB board that you use, you don't tape the joints. You just run a sheet of, you know, probably 0.1 mil Tyvek all the way across it, but you still got those joints behind the Tyvek. The air can get behind and air can get in those joints. Now you have that passage of air getting into the house, whether it's hot or cold. The zip sheathing has this green board, has a zip system that seals the seams, and then behind it, it has, you can start off with a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, 1 inch, and I think it goes all the way up to 2 inch thick condensed insulation behind the board. So now, just in that one board, you have all of that insulation. And then what we do is we come behind that and we put closed cell or open cell foam insulation in the cavity. So now you don't have any air. The cavity is airtight, and that creates that energy efficient seal around the entire home. So that's one thing that they use. And that's a big thing that you can do, again, because and even around the windows, when you fill it with that foam insulation, it's going to close and jam all of those cavities where you don't have the passage of heat and air exchange from the interior to the exterior, exterior to the interior. And then in the attic, they did the same thing. They did this closed foam insulation all the way through the attic. And we're talking to a tone of like 20 inches thick, where you just don't have blown insulation in there or just bat insulation pushed up to the ceiling, where again, all of that heat and energy can exchange from the interior home to the exterior home and the exterior home to the interior home. So just tightening up that construction envelope of the home really makes a significant, huge difference.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what are some...
I need to start drawing this stuff out and having a little board. One of the people say, one of my students like, back then I was Mr. Bowman, I wasn't Dr. Bowman, but Mr. Bowman, you used to give these great diagrams and illustrations. Maybe we need to start having a little whiteboard where I can kind of do these things. 'Cause that probably was hard for people to follow. Kind of, in my abstract mind, putting my hands here, I don't think that played out well. But, okay, that's what we're going to start doing. We're going to have a little whiteboard. So if I need to do a visual illustration, people like that. So thanks for reminding me of that, Jessica. I appreciate that. I love my students so much. They still call and come back and visit and stop by the office and even call me. They got money now. They call me to do renovation projects for them. Shout out to Jenny Celine and her twin sister. I had the privilege of going by to stop by a home that they're inheriting from their mother, that they want to do a full gut renovation. And guess who they called? Their old chemistry teacher, Mr. Bowman. So it always warms my heart when I have those opportunities. See, my students are actually grown up, making money, and now not on a teacher's salary, but on a contractor salary, giving Mr. Bowman some of that money back. So shout out to Jenny and her sister. Thanks a lot for the call.
Awesome. I mean, on that note, you know how we go into our words of wisdom, and it sounds like you've been inspired this week. Can you tell us?
I have. Look, so, oh man, where do I start? Golly, did an hour go by fast? Oh, this is a short shoot. That's fine. It flowed very well. We had limited topics. Not money, not people, not cars, not vacation, not any of those things is more fulfilling than finding the joy of God and your purpose that God has put you on this earth to fulfill. And number one, serving his purpose, but number two, serving those around you in which God has given you gifts to be a blessing to those that you're fortunate to serve. And, just meeting with Jenny, I was really proud because she was one of my smartest chemistry students. And, I used to tell them, because I was fresh out of college, just came from doing research. So I was pretty young, but I knew in life there are certain principles that you just couldn't ignore, think you were going to recreate. And one of them, and I used to say it even back then, is you never let it rest until your good becomes your better and your better becomes your best. And when you accept that mindset in everything that you do, all things that you do, you actually elevate to a different level that other people are not willing to elevate to because they're not first conscious that we all have gifts. God has given every individual one of us gifts. I think that's his little play on, you're my child, so, here's your gift, and that's for you, and that's for us. And when you don't tap into that gift, and when you don't rest until you have really honed in on that gift, to have that gift allow you to be the very best that you can be, then you've done yourself a disservice, and it's a sad thing. So getting back to the inspiration part, I always knew that I had a passion to serve people, right? Whether it's students, whether it's clients. But in that passion, what are my gifts? My gifts is I think I communicate very well. And in communicating very well with clients, it's important because when you don't communicate and clients are spending sometimes $1 million plus on a project, they don't do construction. You know, I'm the expert. It's my job to make sure they understand what's going to happen in construction from start to finish, what they're going to be spending their money on, and what could cause a price increase when they're spending their money. And when you communicate that very well and you get to get the clients to understanding that when things do come up, because things 100% of the time come up in construction, period. That's part of construction. But being able to have the gifts and expertise to troubleshoot those things, anticipate those things as much as possible, to mitigate any risk or losses for you and your client, it becomes a beautiful process. So in communicating with your clients, you know, be honest, be transparent, be candid. You know, nobody's perfect. You know, perfection is an illusion, but sometimes perfection is also something that can be achieved, especially from a quantifiable way versus a qualitative way. And let your clients know that you embrace accountability, you embrace their feedback, you want their raw, candid feedback. Because if we're saying that we strive to deliver every client an elite experience, then we got to own that. And we got to own the responsibility that comes along with that, if that's what we're expressing to our clients. So in being inspired, I'm just so fortunate that, number one, in my relationship with God, I've found my gift, and I'm able to use my gift to help people and to also inspire people. You know, we get Kay pulled down all the comments that we get from our different social media platforms, and it's always great to read those comments, reach back out to those people. People calling all the way from here to California, you know, engaging our consulting services just to make sure that they're making a good decision. They have the right team, they have the right people around them. Because this kind of money these days in this Trump economy and the way things are going, every client should be very mindful about every dollar, and we take that very seriously. So I'm inspired when I see my students 10 years later, all grown up, and Jenny owns about 7 or 8 properties down in Virginia. She's also an investor, but to also come back and hear about their successes and to hear that this is what I love. They always go, Dr. Bowman, when I got to college, man, chemistry was so easy. Bio was so easy. Biochem was so easy. Like, you were right, you were right. You know, that warms my heart that I did my job, and they never forgot that. They will never forget that. And that in itself is inspiration to make me work even harder every day, to never let it rest until my good becomes my better and my better becomes my best. So I challenge you every single day. Shout out to Lindsay, who used to say this. I thought it was the wackest thing, but it's one of the most powerful things. If you can just be 1% better, 1% better than you were yesterday, you're 10 times ahead of the people who are not. Just 1%. That means if I'm getting 1% better every day, that means, period, I'm getting better than the day before. There's no stagnation there. There's no lack of growth. Just 1%. Think about that. So you never let it rest until your good becomes your better and your better becomes your best. And until next time, I'll see you at our next construction site.